Horror Coast to Coast is a movie review podcast featuring strong language, horror film spoilers, and discussions of violence, gore, and disturbing subject matter. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to Horror Coast to Coast, Week 2 of the Spooktober Watchathon. From the biggest grass patch in New England, I'm Brian.
And from a kitchen in California where I am stabbing a pumpkin into submission, I'm Michelle. And continuing our October Spook Fest, we're bringing this week, first, Don't Look at the Demon from 2022, where a team of paranormal investigators head for the highlands of Fraser's Hill in Malaysia to probe a series of alleged disturbances at a house with a dark past. Honestly, I'm not sure if it's a good summary. It's an accurate summary, but it leaves a lot out of the movie. So obviously, here we are to elaborate.
Yeah, there's about 100 movies that summary could apply to.
I think that's what it is vague. But this one starts with two little girls in a room and they're doing some secret stuff and their mom is downstairs. She looks stressed or whatever. I guess there's supposed to be some kind of insinuation that she has a stressful life. And the two kids are upstairs. It isn't clear whether they're siblings or a friend is over having a sleepover, whatever. You suddenly see them drawing a pentagram on the floor and getting into some occult-like shenanigans. And then pan down to the mom again. And the next thing you know, the kids are screaming and there's demony noises coming from the bedroom. The mom runs upstairs and I think the scene cuts at that point, right?
Yeah.
All right.
So we flash forward and we start to follow Jules, played by Fiona Dourif.
Right. And I think the first scene, they're in Malaysia and she is watching somebody get a tattoo from a person who I guess I'm supposed to describe as a monk. That's the best word I can come up with. And then there's a camera crew filming it and we don't really know why.
Yeah. And the woman getting tattooed is in an unusual amount of stress. And it's getting to Jules. And she asks their friend, who's their translator, to ask the monk to stop.
Right. And immediately I'm starting with like the judgment here, which is a little ironic, I guess. But I'm immediately thinking white savior complex trope where she's like, this is obviously hurting her, so I have to come in and save her. We have like the sagely other complex where we have the other character who is not American, not Western, but they have this like spiritual sageness about them. And then we have the guide Annie, who is a local, but the people, specifically the boyfriend Maddie, tries to convince her, you're one of us. So there's a bunch of things going on here right away.
Yeah. Yeah, what annoyed me is that it's clear that they're specifically here to sit in on this process. And then Jules immediately is like, no, stop. And it's like, who are you even to say stop?
Right. The person going through it doesn't seem to want it to stop. Maybe she's in pain, but people get tattoos all the time. Like, tattoos are supposed to hurt. Are you going to go to every tattoo parlor and be like, you can't do this, you're hurting them? Like, it was just kind of ridiculous. I just was watching it like, okay, I immediately don't like this opening.
Yeah, and it's not like she asks to tell the girl, like, oh, you should ask her if this is okay. She doesn't even like get the opinion of the girls getting tattoos. She's like, no, let's put a stop to this.
Yeah, it was Just not good energy, I think. And then when they get in the car and then the 2, like, bonehead white dudes in the front seat, like, we're all family here. I just thought all of these characters right away were just very unlikable. I mean,
Yes, for sure.
it wasn't to the extent to the extent of Piranha, where I really wanted to just, like, break the screen, but these people, I was just, ugh, I can't. Oh my god.
Did you watch Grave Encounters with me?
I think I did, but you know what? If it wasn't good, I probably put it out of my mind.
I could not stop thinking about Grave Encounters. It's the one that's kinda like a parody of Ghost Adventures, basically.
Okay.
I think they're invested in an insane asylum for their, like, spooky show,
Okay.
and this whole movie reminded me so much of it, and the characters in that also are so
Is
obnoxious.
that that one doesn't take place in Japan, right?
I don't know, I think it's somewhere in
Okay,
America.
I watched a movie where ghost hunters were doing some kind of thing at an abandoned school, and I think it was in Japan. And I believe the investigators were Americans, but I have to look that up because that was another movie that I was like, "Why am I watching this?" And then, yeah, and I wrote down, "Holy shit, the pick me energy from the boyfriend." The, like, "I'm not like other foreigners. I'm inclusive. You're one of us. You don't have to worry about, you know, feeling like you're an outsider or whatever." And I was like, "Oh my god, shut this man up." Um but yeah, and then I immediately thought about you when they're like, "Okay, how do we pick our next location?" And they hand Jules the iPad, and she's, like, just flipping through emails or, like, submissions, right? She's flipping through them, and she's like, "No, that one's junk. No, that's bullshit. No." And then she finds one. I was like, "This takes Googling their curse to a whole other other level." I was like, if Brian is into Googling their curse, that the, like, Spookfest gods must have been like, "Let's put a stop to that because here's some bullshit you're clearly not gonna like." Oh, man, I was like, "This is so
Yeah, this
stupid."
is a monkey's paw situation where I say I love Googling the curse, and then we get this bullshit.
Yeah, I was like, "That is so stupid." And then it was like, Jules is the expert with literally no context to that. And yes, I will say it is explained a little bit more later in the film, but this was not the situation where you could just be silent on that until later in the movie. Anyway,
Well, our first tip off is the girl who is getting tattooed pukes out a bunch of nails,
right.
and the monk explains to Jules it's because an ex-lover cursed her. And then he's like, "But you knew that because the monk can sense her psychic powers."
Right.
And he's like, "But you choose to look the other way and you choose to only use these powers for profit. Does that make you feel better?" And there's like this theme about telling her that she doesn't see or she doesn't look, which is the only connection I really see to the title, Don't Look at the Demon.
Oh, right, because that's her personal way of staying in touch with reality. I don't know, I guess maintaining her connection to what's real and maintaining her connection to what's not supernatural is just by putting on blinders and not looking. I guess. I don't know. I I think this movie started with a bad taste in my mouth, and so I was very resistant to seeing any depth. And I agree with you that that's a pretty that's an intelligent perspective to say, this monk sees exactly what's going on right now, and that is exactly what the title is supposed to kind of give for us. But, yeah, I don't know, I was like, there was just something missing, and
Oh, yes.
I don't know. Yeah, so there's something missing,
There's
right?
quite a lot missing. There's hints of intelligent things, and it's basically 99% of the movie is not connected to any of
Right,
these little moments that are sprinkled in.
right.
And the rest of the movie is basically a knockoff of Grave Encounters.
Yeah, I mean, it was a knockoff of something because I knew what was gonna happen, for like the first 30 minutes of the movie.
This is basically a subgenre of like, what if these ghost hunting shows weren't so full of shit?
Yeah, I guess.
And I think there was one that was like so scary and believable. It aired once in England where it was made and then it was banned forever from
Whoa,
broadcast.
let's find that.
Yeah, we should find
Let's
that.
find that and watch it.
Yeah, for sure.
But holy shit, when I was watching this, okay, they pick a submission and they're like, she's like, this one is real. And whatever, okay, so she feels something from an email. Whatever, her iPad is somehow communicating it to her. They get there, and these two people are so sketchy to me. They could have been like two serial killers for all they know. Just like the vibes that she's getting of like there's something going on. It obviously could have been these two people being like, we're murderers and we have lots of dead bodies in our house. I did not buy those two actors as husband and wife in the slightest. I don't know what it was, but they were off to me. But then I'm like, this is so cringe and obvious as she's walking around that she's gonna be like, oh, there's nothing here. And I'm like, yeah, obviously she's gonna walk around, she's gonna see nothing and be like, there's nothing here, whatever. But then at the same time, these people don't give them anything. They don't say what's going on. They haven't identified anything that's actually happening. What are they actually so terrorized by?
Yeah.
They make a couple of comments about, "Oh, I went to bed one night and I woke up in the middle of the lawn." And so like, "Okay, great. So you're a sleepwalker. Why is it that you think that there's something else going on?" There has to be something else that pushed your suspicions beyond it's in our head or it's something happening to us or there's a reasonable explanation for it. And they never get there. They never say, "Okay, you might think it's just in our heads, but look at this thing. Check this out." They never do that. So I'm just like, "What the fuck is going on?"
Yeah.
Sorry, I was very incensed as I was watching all of this. I do like this genre a lot, though. They go into the basement, and she looks around, and she's like, "Oh, it smells so bad," and then they find a dead rat.
Oh, yeah,
They find a
yeah.
dead rat, and the guy is like, "You don't believe us." And she's like, "Man, I kinda don't." And then Martha's like, "You have to believe us." Blah, blah, blah. She starts talking to her, and then the lights go out, everyone is gone, and she's like, "Where did you all go?" But then she turns, and then she sees something jump out at her, and then she freaks
Yeah.
out and is like, "I gotta get out of here."
And the jump scares in this movie are so
Yeah.
cheesy.
Jump scares are cheesy.
They're they remind me of early 2000s, like those cartoons or little games that would just like fake out and then like a spooky face would pop up.
Yeah.
Really gave me those vibes.
I didn't like the jump scares. I also didn't like the music. The music at times gave me, like, the Haunted Mansion vibes. I don't know if you heard any of the music or if it made you think of anything, but I wrote it multiple times. "I hate this music. This music is horrible. I feel like I'm watching The Haunted Mansion. What the fuck's going on?"
Yeah, I didn't really notice the music until the very end. And then there was like this orchestral piece that was kind of like classic horror movie. And I thought, hey, this is actually pretty good. And then it occurred to me that the rest of the music in the whole movie was so unremarkable, I didn't notice any of it.
Yeah. Um, so, yeah, it looks like whenever she has one of these encounters, her entire reality changes, and it doesn't make any sense, and it seems like they're trying to go for this, like, the Shining kind of explanation, but it doesn't work. It's not really like that. It just doesn't make any sense how she can be in a room with a bunch of people, and then all of a sudden she has an encounter with something, and all those people are gone, and there's no explanation for whether they walked away, whether she passed out. There's nothing offered. It's just reality's changed for a minute, and then she comes to, and the whole situation's different, and there's no explanation for it.
Yeah.
Let's cut to the chase, right? They figure out that something's going on in this house.
Yeah, well, they know for sure because Martha starts floating and smashing her face on a crucifix. Although I think there's still some denial after that. It's like you saw her floating. So I don't know.
Right.
Like one of the guys is talking to Jules outside. She's like trying to take her medication, it's like Zoloft or something, and he's like, "You can't take more of that." It's like, "It's my medication,"
Yeah.
which was funny to me because it's like, yeah, that doesn't mean you can just take as much as you want of
Yeah.
it. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
That seems just weird. But then he's basically like almost gaslighting her after they just saw Martha floating in the air and smashing her face all demon
Oh,
possessed.
yeah. I had a whole bunch of I think the reason that I'm so, like, up in arms about this is because I wrote a whole bunch of other stuff about this movie that I was very adamant about as I was watching it. I honestly thought that this is just, like, misogynist bullshit. I really hated it. Like, all the women are victims or complicit. All the men are just, like, mediocre, but essentially unaffected. The women are suffering and the men are nothing. This feels so much like Drag Me to Hell. It, like, really fucking pissed me off. And then on top of it, there's a scene where Maddie is like, I don't know, he's bitching at not Fiona, Jules. He's bitching her for something. And I'm like, she was like this when you met her. You knew. This is exactly like significant other. You get mad because you can't fix her, control her, reshape her, whatever. But this is just such a like misogynist piece of shit. I was so mad about it. Then there's a scene with the Malaysian girl Annie where she's like standing in the shower and the scene is there so you can see that she also has the tattoo. But the shot,
Yeah.
the angle was just so fucking cringe and clearly like Asian girl fetish. I was like, I can't, like, what is happening right now? But yeah, I was just so mad. And then he drives away because he's angry. But then he's like, "Oh, I went to go find you because you stormed off." So then Annie goes with you and the two of you just like make out? What?
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned significant other because I was thinking about this in contrast to significant other because this whole like protagonist who's constantly just completely stressed out and like struggling mentally, it can be done extremely well, like in Significant Other, which I love, but 9 out of 10 times it's in a bad movie and it's just like terribly done and
Yeah.
insufferable. And that's the case in this
Yeah.
one.
It was it.
When the movie's not good enough to like really make profound statements on mental health, then it's just used basically as a writing point.
Yeah.
And it was the same with, remember we watched The Ward and
Oh,
that pissed
yeah.
me off so much
Yes.
because that was just like, she's
Yeah.
crazy. And that's like the whole justification for everything in that
Yeah.
movie.
No, DID is the vehicle that carries everything in
Yeah.
the movie, but nothing poignant was said about it or nothing no intelligent, like, assessment of or analysis of how it could be, like, a horror experience, nothing like that.
Yeah. And also just completely inaccurate.
Yeah. Well, this I really couldn't stop paying attention to all the points where it was just so fucking misogynist. Like, there's a part where that idiot is like, "You're gonna fix my brother." And you're like, "How? How? What in your experiences with this woman leads you to believe that she can actually affect anything?" Because my understanding.
Okay, so this is after Ben like hears voices and wanders into the basement and like gets possessed,
Right,
right?
right. So, yeah,
He gets like jump scared at and then he gets possessed and then they see him get up out of bed and they're like, what the hell is he doing? And so from that point on, he's like our main
right.
villain and his brother is one of the other characters. So yeah, he's telling Jules she's gonna fix his brother for
Right,
him.
and the husband, Martha's husband, stands there and watches him grab her by the throat and slam her against the wall, and he says nothing.
Yeah.
He watches it happen and says nothing, and I was like, "Is this for fucking real? That this character is gonna watch this man grab this woman who, maybe it means something, maybe it means nothing, but she is physically smaller than him. Grab her by the throat and slam her against the wall. And that's just something we're gonna let slide. I mean, I guess they then go on to portray that he is angry and he's protective and he's got his own issues and it just the movie spirals out of control. And the ultimate explanation harkens back to the beginning of the movie where there was this title card that we kind of skipped over that said something about
Yeah.
dead babies and the souls of dead babies can be summoned to serve their master in like his occult practices. And that's essentially what this movie ends up
Yeah.
being about. But it's kind of
Yes.
roundabout how we get there, right?
So it said there's a something called the Kuomintang, which are like the ghosts of babies who were never born, and they serve their
Right,
master. And so Ben is now possessed by their
right.
master, which we pretty much learn at the
We
very
learn at the
end.
very end, and we learn at the very end that he the master, the guy who lived in the house, he wasn't simply summoning the souls of babies who weren't born, he was killing them. He was ripping these
Yeah.
unborn babies from their mother's wombs, and it's like a gruesome and horrible mini blurry scene that they kinda show.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the reason that he's latched on to this group of people is because Martha's pregnant.
Yep.
So that becomes the explanation for like why all of this stuff is happening to these people, why it's happening now, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know what I thought of all of that. Was it an interesting and new kind of occult possession story? Yes. I really just did not appreciate how deeply misogynist it was.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. But it is apparently based on Malaysian folklore. So this might be a very old
Yeah.
story.
And I did look at the director, and I believe he might be Malaysian?
Yeah, he's
Okay.
Malaysian, and this is the first Malaysian film to ever get a release in the US.
Whoa, that's an accomplishment.
Yeah, so I do want to say congratulations to Brando Lee on that. That is an achievement. But I did hate your
Yeah,
movie. I think you should keep making movies and you should keep drawing on Malaysian culture. I think that was a cool thing about this. But I think that could have been a much stronger aspect of this movie because the rest of it was a very formulaic, haunting movie, and the characters were very unlikable. Not a lot of depth to any of these characters.
right. And ultimately, Jules figures out, and they kind of explain what happened in that bedroom with her and her sister, and how
Yes.
she ends up killing her sister because they apparently used to play a game with the ghost. It was very like Anna and Elsa. Let's do the magic. Let's play the
Yeah.
game until one of them gets hurt. And so she does this game where she draws a circle, they sit inside it, and I guess they would commune with ghosts and just like talk to them. And then one day a bad ghost came and possessed her and used her to effectively kill her sister. And that's the thing that scars her. That's the thing that originally scars Jules. And like, I really think her character would have been a lot easier to swallow if we had known that at the beginning. I'm sorry that I hated her off the bat because by the time we got to that part of the story, I was sort of like, oh, I understand now. But I wish I had known that right away. I wish I had known exactly what happened. But then you learn that in this little ritual they were doing, she tells her sister, "Okay, don't leave the circle. It's like the thing that contains them or something, or it protects you." I don't know. So then why, when she goes about doing this, she draws the smallest fucking circle ever? I'm like, is if this is the thing that helps you, make it as big as you can. You drew the size of like a single person to sit in the circle. Did you not want to help everyone else? Like, what the hell are you doing? But then, yeah, the ending for me, not really sure how how to not sure how to reconcile it.
I don't know what the fuck this ending was.
Yeah.
It really came out of nowhere. So basically, she willingly gets herself possessed, right?
Yes.
And that's to take on Ben, who is possessed by the master. And so she does that, and we basically just get like a happy little ending. And then she walks up to the monk who showed up again to help her, which I didn't really get. Like, he kind of came out of nowhere. I don't even think he had a name,
No.
but they treat him like he was this important character at the end almost like he was like her sensei or something. But it's like this is just a guy she like met one time and had an awkward conversation with. He comes back, he helps her do this, and then she, after the happy little ending, she sees him at the table and he turns around, he's like eating a fetus.
Yeah.
And then he tells her that she killed everyone. He's like, you killed your sister and now you killed everyone else. And so she wakes up and everyone's like dead around her.
Yeah.
And then Martha's like nailed to the wall and her womb is ripped open.
Right.
Apparently she did that when she was possessed. Is that what we're going with?
I have no idea. My understanding is that the reason she drew the circle, got in the circle, and then taunted Ben to get the ghost to like possess her was so that she could trap it inside the circle. And I guess that isn't what happened. And maybe this is giving a little too much grace to this the narrative here. But maybe that's exactly what happened with her sister, that she thought being in the circle, even if she had been possessed, the ghosts wouldn't have been able to leave the circle or do any harm. And that's not what happened with her sister. And in this situation, she's in the circle, she gets possessed by this ghost, thinking she can keep it there, and that's not what happens again. So maybe that's the goal here, to show she thought she could control it when she was younger, she was wrong, and then she thinks she can control it again, and she's wrong. And at the very end of the movie, she looks at the demon.
Yeah. So I guess that's as good as a read as any, because the communication of what's supposed to be going on in the ending of this movie is not there at all. Like the plan is not clear, the execution is not clear, and then the twist just kind of comes out of nowhere and leaves you with just kind of a pile of bodies.
Yeah. So unless you have anything deeper to add or any other little comments, I'm ready to rate this and close the book on it.
There's two things.
Okay.
One was, I want to say my favorite scene was when one of the guys like aggressively kills a big bug. He's just like, fuck you. It just came out of nowhere and it was hilarious to me.
Oh my God.
And I think my least favorite line in the movie was when a possessed Ben says, I will rape her soul.
Yeah. My least favorite part of the movie is maybe taking it a step further than that, where Ben essentially implies a whole child abuse backstory, like child sexual abuse backstory by their mom. And I was like,
Oh,
what?
yeah.
You are not just going to throw that in there like it's not important or not a big deal or just a throwaway idea. Why? Why was that included? That was
Yeah.
so out of
Yeah.
left
And they're
field.
like, don't listen, it's not Ben. But it's like, clearly by his reaction, you can tell that even if it wasn't Ben, the demon knows that it's a real thing.
Yeah,
And like,
exactly.
the reaction tells you that this is a thing that happened.
Yeah. I mean,
But yeah, that was very, very
he
awkward.
says something like, I was a little kid. I didn't know. I mean, gosh, I don't mean to be making fun of his reaction, but Lord, this was so inappropriate to me. I was like, I can't.
No, but that's the core of what's wrong with this movie in all these regards. Like, it goes way too hard and doesn't have the merit to back it up.
Yeah.
Like, the mental illness aspect is like Jules's whole character, and it's so thin and flimsy. And then you get moments like that, and you get, I will rape her soul. It's like, you're not good enough to make these work,
Yeah.
to
It,
make these aspects work in this film.
yeah. So, Brando Lee, congratulations on your accomplishment, but keep at it, guy, because you got some work to do. And are we ready to rate?
Yeah.
Okay, good, because this is a 1 star for me.
Yeah, I'm giving it a half.
You gave it a half?
Yeah.
Ugh, you're so much nicer than me. Ugh, but okay. 1 star and a half star. Very fair. All right. So we move on in our spooktacular special with Phantasm, where the residents of a small town have been dying under strange circumstances, leading young Mike to investigate. After discovering that the tall man, the town's mortician, is killing and reanimating the dead as misshapen zombies, Mike seeks help from his older brother Jody and local ice cream man Reggie. Working together, they try to lure out and kill the tall man, all the while avoiding his minions and a deadly silver sphere.
All right.
That's the best summary I could have ever given this movie.
Yeah, that's pretty coherent for describing this movie.
Yeah.
So we start off with a sex scene
Yes, we did.
in a graveyard
Yes.
where much of this movie will take place. And so this young man is having sex with a woman and he's stabbed and the woman turns into an old man.
Right.
And then we flash forward a bit and we find out that this man's name is Tommy and his friends Jody and Reggie are at his funeral where they think he committed suicide.
Yeah. Where my immediate comment was, he was stabbed in the chest. Not sure how that is a suicide, but okay.
I mean, it happens.
Yeah.
Isn't that how Elliot Smith's death was ruled?
That's what I wrote. I said, if it was a good enough explanation for Elliot Smith, maybe it's good enough here.
Do we know that Elliot Smith wasn't murdered by the tall man?
You know, I hadn't seen this movie at the time I found out about that, so new theories opening up every day.
We're introduced to Mike, who's the 13-year-old brother of Jody, and he's hanging out on his dirt bike, and he sees the tall man load a coffin into the back of his hearse with like one hand. And he's like, "What the fuck?" So he hops on his dirt bike and like gets out of that graveyard and like almost hits a grave on his way out.
Yeah. And we find out before, like a couple seconds before this, that the reason he's lurking around the cemetery is because his brother specifically decided not to bring him to Tommy's funeral because their parents had just recently passed away. So that's the explanation for why it's just the two of them and why he's free to do little juvenile delinquency things while there's a funeral going on.
So Mikey goes to a fortune teller, and the fortune teller, she doesn't talk at all, right?
No, she talks through her granddaughter.
Yeah, like apparently psychically, because it's not like she's whispering in her ear or anything. It's just like her granddaughter tells Mike what she said.
Right.
And she tells Mike to stick his hand in this black box, and then it gets stuck and he's like, it hurts. And they basically tell Mike that fear is the mind killer.
Yeah.
So he relaxes and he pulls his hand out. He's like, that hurt though. And they tell him it's all in his mind.
Which made no sense, but is obviously serving as a setup. And that was clear to me. Like,
Yeah, so yeah, big setup that it seemed unconnected until like the last minute of the movie, basically.
right.
Because, yeah, I totally forgot about that because we move on pretty quick. I think the next big scene is when Jody's like hooking up with some girl in the graveyard.
Yes. At which point I write down, who the fuck has sex in a cemetery?
Everyone in this town does. That's
Oh
the
my
thing to do.
God.
Look,
Yeah.
some towns have a big hill that overlooks the whole town where you drive up there and make out with girlfriends. Other towns aren't so lucky. They just have the graveyard, and that's where you take girls to neck.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh, and then Mike has a dream that his bed is in a graveyard and he's being like accosted by all these little hooded gremlin things.
Yeah, Jawas, basically.
Yes. Oh my God, I thought that too.
It's so funny because this movie started filming in 1977. So I'm wondering if they filmed some of this stuff and then Star Wars came out and they're like, fuck.
Roll with it. It's fine.
So no one's gonna think our hooded dwarves are scary because they're cute little aliens in Star Wars.
Yeah. Well, it's a good thing they show us what they are underneath because whew, man. And also, let me just say one thing. In contrast to the first movie, I love the music in this film. I loved it.
Oh my
It
God.
was so good.
So I watched it on DVD.
You own this DVD too? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So
Okay.
when it finished, it goes back to the title screen and it plays like that theme. And I was on that title screen for like 2.5 hours just
Oh my
listening to
god.
that song on repeat. It was so good. I didn't turn it
I
off.
loved the music. I also loved that scene where Jody's sitting on the porch and he's playing guitar with
Yes.
Reggie. I was like, this is random, but this is good.
But that hat was so cheesy. He's
Oh, the
wearing
hat.
this weird ass like bowler or a derby hat, and it looks like the stiffest hat ever made, and it's just like sitting on the very top of his head.
Yeah, it was dumb. But I didn't realize that Reggie was an ice cream man at first. I thought he was the milkman. So I was like,
Oh yeah.
who just has the milkman randomly sit down and start playing guitar with you? It was crazy. But I loved it. I was like, this is the kind of like cheesy thing that I am here for. But
Yeah.
yes, I loved the music here.
Yeah, I love that little jam session too. So Mike was running from one of those hooded figures and he like runs into the mausoleum, right?
Yes.
And a silver sphere is just like flying at him and he's grabbed by some guy and the sphere burrows it, like the spikes go into his forehead and then a drill comes out of it and it just drills into his head and squirts out blood through the other side of the
So
sphere.
it was so nasty. It was this like
Yeah.
projectile thick red goo, and it wasn't like blood. It was just like red paint or something, but it just looked so gross. Ugh, yeah. But then so then after that the kid is like running away from someone and he goes
Yeah,
into a
it's the
room.
same tall man,
The tall man.
the
Okay, he goes into
mortician.
a room, slams the door behind him, and the fingers come off. And they
Well, the
have this
fingers are stuck in the door and then
yeah,
Mike cuts them off.
but they had this, like, nasty yellow liquid coming
Yeah, they're
out
like
of
dripping
them.
yellow paint,
Oh, it's so gross looking.
but Mike grabs those fingers because Mike
Right.
is one of the smartest, most resourceful kids I've ever seen in a horror movie. And he
Yes.
knows no one's going to believe any of this shit without hard evidence. So he
Yes.
brings the receipts.
Yeah, he does. I actually was like, "Oh my god, he grabbed one, he took it back. Good on you, Mike."
And then I love when he shows Jody, and Jody's like, okay, I believe you.
Okay. Yes.
So matter of fact, and it's just so perfect. It's like, yeah, it's hard to argue with that. Those are clearly not human fingers.
It was
Human
really
fingers
good.
don't do that. And I think, are they still like moving too in the box?
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
he
so they're like
opens it.
moving and still oozing yellow goo. So Jody's like, yep, I believe everything you say from here on out. I've got your
Yeah.
back.
It was really good, especially since you kind of anticipated Jody being that character that, like, "Shut up, Mike, you're a dumb kid," and he wasn't.
Yeah.
He was like, "Alright, you're tell the truth."
Yeah, it was very refreshing, and I like their relationship because it seems like Mike is actually smarter than his big brother, but his big brother is more mature and responsible and looks out for him. So they have like a sympathetic relationship.
Right. Yeah. Oh,
So
definitely.
they're gonna take the fingers to the sheriff. So Mike goes and grabs it and it sounds different, so he opens it up, and a giant bug comes out and starts attacking him.
Oh, it was so ugly. Oh my god. It was like a
And
giant
Jody,
fly or
yeah, it's
something.
hideous. The guy from the last movie would have crushed it and been like, "Fuck you!" But yeah, they fight it off and they like get it into the sink and turn the garbage disposal off. And at this point, Reggie just shows up and he's just talking like I don't know
"Hey,
what he's
guys.
talking about.
Hey, guys. How's it
Yeah,
going?"
yeah, he's like updating them on some like random crap, and then he just like notices that they're like freaked the fuck out. He's like, "What's going on?" And then it comes back out up out of the garbage disposal, and I forget who it attacks. It attacks one of them,
Yeah.
and they get it back into the garbage disposal, and then Jody's like stabbing the shit out of it with a butcher knife,
Yeah.
and they manage to kill it.
At which point I wrote, this movie is out of control.
Yes.
Um, and then at some point, the tall man comes to their house. And I absolutely love that when Mike answers the door, he holds up his hand and his fingers are bent and then he lifts them up like, fix, bitch. It was very good. He like holds up his hands purposely to show him, yeah, you thought you cut me, did you? And then he boom, here they are. It was very good.
Yeah.
And this is where I lost the plot.
Yeah. So I think at this point they get like chased by a hearse with no driver, right?
Yeah. They're chased. They end up back in the mausoleum. They're running around.
During this chase, Mike is actually driving, even though he's 13. We're showed earlier that he's like a mechanical whiz. He's always
Yeah.
working on cars. That's his hobby. And we get Jody firing on this car, but he's shooting at the driver who isn't there, so it's not doing anything. And I think it's Mike who tells him to put it in the engine block. So he shoots the engine block and that stops it.
Right.
And then they investigate the hearse. They find out there was a driver. It was one of these little Jawa guys. And they take
Yeah.
his hood off, and it's a zombified
It's
Tommy.
Tommy.
Yeah, it was Tommy.
Yeah.
So we got the reveal basically that when the tall man was loading up that coffin into the back of the hearse, that was Tommy, and he turned him into a like zombie dwarf Jawa guy. So apparently that's what they've been doing.
Right. So then they're all like, okay, we get what he's doing, but why is he making them 3 feet tall? And how?
So at that point they end up at the mausoleum, right?
Right. Because they follow him. They basically are like, all right, we have to go get this guy and we have to stop him. And we know where he lives. So they go to the mausoleum.
One of those orbs is going to attack Mike again, but Jody appears out of nowhere and blasts it with a shotgun right in the nick of
And
time.
shoots it with the shotgun. I was like, if this was any other movie, I'd be calling bullshit, but I'm letting this go.
So at some point, Jody sends Mike off to basically hides him with some of his friends, Sally and Sue,
Right.
to keep him safe.
Right.
Why does he make them leave again?
I don't remember.
He like hears something and he's like, we have to go save Jody. So they get
Yeah.
on the road and go, and then they see Jody's ice cream truck is flipped on its side and he's not there.
Right.
And then the girls get
Yeah.
kidnapped. So Mike gets home and he's all shaken up because he pretty much thinks Sally, Sue, and Reggie are all dead. And at this point, Jody locks him in his bedroom. And I like this part where resourceful Mike, he has a shotgun shell and he takes like a thumbtack and a hammer and he uses that, smashes it on the door handle, and it blows the door open.
To blows it open. Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. He catches up with them. They go back to the mausoleum and they find that Reggie is safe. He like scares the shit out of them and they almost kill him, but yeah, he's okay. And he says that he freed Sally, Sue, and some other girls.
Yeah. And I wasn't sure at this point if Reggie was even trustworthy because he comes out of nowhere and then he's like, oh, yeah, they're fine. Don't worry about it. And you're like, wait, they just made a big deal about these girls being kidnapped. And all of a sudden they're free off screen and that's it. We don't have to worry about it again. But I guess that was nothing.
Yeah.
But for a minute, I was like, do we now suspect Reggie of something? But no, he's true blue.
Yeah, so the three of them stumble upon a room that's like full of kegs, and inside the kegs are Jawas. So they found the Jawa factory. This
Yeah.
wall full of kegs full of Jawas. And then, yeah, Mike finds like a portal like in the void basically,
Yeah.
and he goes into it and he sees, and this part reminded me of Willy Wonka because this is kind of how I picture the Oompa Loompa world. So I think Willy Wonka
Yeah.
goes through this portal to free the Oompa Loompas. Because, yeah, he sees that the dwarves are like slaves. And the reason they're short is because the gravity is more intense in this world or dimension through this portal. So they've all been crushed down while they work. And that's why they're all 3 feet tall. And
Right.
so I think Jody pulls him out of there. And then at this point, I think they're attacked by the tall man again, and they go outside, and it's like a storm, and they all get separated. And I didn't love this scene where they're all just like screaming, like,
No.
Reggie, Mike,
Yeah.
Jody. It went on way too long, and it was like not really. I guess I feel like the intention was just to kind of sow chaos and,
Yes.
make it so you're surprised.
And I wrote, is all that screaming necessary? What do they hope to accomplish here?
Yeah. So Reggie gets stabbed by the tall man. Mike wants to help him, but Jody's like, no, he's already dead. And I'm like, what the fuck? First of all,
Yeah.
how are you so sure? This seems
Did you
so,
check?
yeah. And he basically, we know he's dead because we see his eyes like dramatically close in that way that in movies tells you they're dead. But they're
Yeah.
at a distance, and Jody's just like, it's too late. We can't help him. He's dead. It's like, how do you know that? And B, that's your best friend. Like, I don't believe this from the Jody we've established that he wouldn't throw
Be
himself
like,
in danger to rescue his best friend. So they leave Jody behind.
yeah.
And then flash forward a little bit, Mike's getting chased by the tall man, and he like leads him into a hole in the ground that's apparently a mine shaft.
Yeah.
And then Jody like drops an avalanche on him basically. And so everything is resolved and the tall man's dead. The end.
Right.
Just kidding. Because now we turn the entire movie on its fucking head, and Mike wakes up from his terrible nightmare. Reggie comforts him because Reggie's still alive, and Jody's
Right.
not because Jody died in a car accident weeks ago. So everything we've seen didn't happen.
Yep.
So the definition of phantasm is a figment of the imagination.
Yeah. So it was all a
Yeah.
dream.
So there's all a grief induced nightmare, except the tall man is real and he grabs Mike and like rips him through a window or no, a bedroom mirror and pulls him inside. And that's the actual end of the movie.
Yeah. So
So there's 4 more of these.
how do you know? Yeah.
I need to know what the fuck
So I wrote
happens.
that down. Um the director of this movie is Don Coscarelli,
Yes. Who
who
did like everything in this movie. He wrote, directed it, produced it, edited it, did the cinematography.
oh my god.
So yeah, this is
Total
clearly
control,
his
huh?
passion project. I respect the hell out of that.
Well, he did Phantasm, Phantasm 2, Phantasm 3, Phantasm 4, and Phantasm Ravager. He also directed The Beastmaster, which I loved as a kid, and John Dies at the End, which I didn't love, but it did inspire me to read the book, which I have to say is better than the movie.
Okay. Yeah, I'm interested
But
to
yeah,
read that book.
lots of phantasms. Holy crap. So it doesn't end
Yeah,
there.
so I'm curious how this ending lends itself to 5 sequels and what this story is going to be about because
It just continues. It's just whatever the tall man wants to have happen, he's gonna continue his I mean, they didn't, like, free everyone in that dimension, right? They didn't blow the portal, like, it all still
well,
exists.
we don't know what happened because none of this was real, right? I mean, nothing
I know,
that
but that's
Jody.
like a it's not real, or is it? It's one of those. That's why I was like, I don't even know at this point. I lost the plot of this
Well,
movie.
it just got me so curious because, like, what is Reggie's point of view in Phantasm 2 gonna be? Because apparently he didn't have this crazy, like, paranormal adventure.
Oh, I mean, if he is he still in it? Did you look it up?
Yes, he is. I believe he's in all of them. Him and Mike are the
Whoa.
main characters to all the movies. And
What?
interestingly, the actors are also named Reggie and Mike.
Whoa. Okay.
So yeah,
That's sad.
they're
I
still
would have liked it if Jodie came back.
exactly like Jody was a great character, but none of that was real, right? So that's so strange.
Yeah, I
But
don't know.
I really like this movie anyway, even though that ending threw me through a massive loop.
Yeah, it was crazy. I think I told you this before. I would like to watch it again because
Yeah,
I think that, especially after talking about it a little bit, I'll pay attention to different things and it'll give me a different perspective. So I think I might revisit this.
we should
Um,
do an episode on Phantasm 2 and we can rewatch the first one and then
okay.
we'll have that perspective going into the second one.
Okay. All right. Okay. So what do we think? Are we at the point of rating or do you have anything else you want to add?
I think we can go to rating. I'm gonna give it a 3.5.
3.5. Oh man. Okay. All right. I found a lot that I liked about it, but a lot that I was like scratching my head over. So I gave it a 2.5. But yeah, okay. Respectable. Lastly, we ventured into the tall grass with a brother and sister who enter a field of grass to rescue a boy, but they soon realize they cannot escape, and something evil lurks in the grass. And let me say first and foremost, this is the role for Patrick Wilson. I don't buy him in any of that I'm the good guy protagonist bullshit. This is the role for him. He is a shifty ass car salesman type evil fucking character. This is it for him. Like I don't know. I've seen him in all of the Conjuring and the Insidious movies, and I've seen him in a couple of other things, and he's always this like just like a good dude.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Here, I was like, this is it. This is who you are. I'm sure he's a great guy or whatever, but this is the role that I thought he was very impressive here. Very dislikable, very evil, really into it. But anyhow, it starts out exactly like the summary says. It's a brother and a sister. They're driving down a road. It looks like they're in the middle of a cornfield or Kansas or something, and I think they might be. The sister's pregnant, and the brother is driving her to San Diego. We're not sure why. We learn later that potentially it was for an adoption, I think is the reason they were driving to San Diego.
Yeah, we learn that later.
But at any rate, they're driving to San Diego and they stop the car for some reason outside of this field of grass that looks like a cornfield, but it's not a cornfield. It's just grass.
Yeah.
And they hear a kid calling, help me, someone help me." And of course, so the girl Becky, in her budding maternal instincts, says, "He sounds like he really needs help. Let's go." Whatever. I always have to roll my eyes at stuff like that because I feel like, girl, you have a baby in your tubby. Why are you putting yourself in this situation? But it's fine. Let the movie play out. But yeah, so go venture into this grass and see if you can find this kid. And then after you find the kid, what are you supposed to do? Nobody knows. But that's how the movie starts. And I gotta say immediately, I was like, okay, and now what? I could not fathom I had not the tiniest inkling idea of what could possibly unfold to make this movie go on for an hour and a half.
Look,
Really couldn't have seen anything.
really?
I was like, I can't imagine what could happen right now. They walk in the grass, they get lost, and then but stuff happens, right?
Did you know it's a Stephen King movie?
I did.
Okay, because I feel like that informs what could happen, because this is a very Stephen King story.
Yes, it is a very Stephen King story, and I uh knew going in. And so I thought, all right, give it to me. Give it to me, Stephen King. Tell me what's going to happen to these people. And for the most part, I wasn't disappointed. I think maybe at times I was, but I think that my initial apprehension, not necessarily focused on, okay, now what and what's going to happen. I was also apprehensive because I don't really like pregnancy centric horror. And so I thought, oh God, I just hope this pregnant woman makes it out of here. And that's
Oh,
all I kept thinking the entire movie because I was like, I just don't want to see gruesome, gory things surrounding pregnancy. It's not like a
okay. Rough week then. At
yes,
least Phantasm didn't do it.
that's true. It's not like a trigger or anything. It's just sometimes it can be a little too easy to lean into that because, birth is already involving blood and bodily fluids and contortions and things like that. There's just all kinds of, and then babies can look like aliens or like creatures and stuff like that. And like all of those horror adjacent type things when it has to do with pregnancy and birth, sometimes I think are relied on a little too heavily when you have a pregnant person in the film and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, I see where this is going to go. And so I was apprehensive a bit immediately because of that. But anyhow, that's where I the opening was for me when I was like, okay, great. So she's going into the grass and now what? But okay, they go after this kid Tobin that they hear calling.
And somehow they get separated. I don't remember how.
Yeah, I think that's one of the themes of this location is that the grass it's hard to stay connected to the person you're with.
Yeah,
Because immediately they're like, "Stay with me," or "Stay behind me," and right away they get separated.
yeah. So they can still hear each other. And the girl Becky's like using annoying limericks to let him know the distance, basically.
Right. What really started to make the film unsettling is that after he realizes, "I can hear you. You should be right next to me, but I still can't find you." They decide to just jump in the air and see if they can see each other. And the first time they do it, they're like, "Oh, hey, you're right there. Walk a little bit. Hey, we should have connected by now. Let's do it
They
again."
don't
They
even
jump in the air.
they don't even move. They
They don't
immediately
move?
jump again.
Okay, so they immediately jump again,
Yeah,
and
they're like,
suddenly
let's
they're
do it
like
one more
a
time.
a
Yeah, and
quarter mile apart.
yeah.
So then you start to realize, okay, something's happening, and it's a matter of figuring out what the explanation for it is. And eventually, one of them, I don't remember which one of them finds the kid first, but one of them finds the kid.
Well, first, I
And
think Becky meets Ross, his father,
oh, she meets Ross first.
and
Okay.
he's like,
Um,
"I'm Tobin's daddy," which is immediately like a weird, creepy introduction when he's not even at his creepiness yet.
plus he's got the mustache too.
A little like pencil John Watersy mustache.
Yes,
I hate I
yes.
didn't even notice he had a mustache until, like, halfway into the movie. I was like, "Oh, he has a tiny little mustache on the top of his lip." Yeah, I
Oh
didn't
my god, that's the first thing I noticed.
oh,
I was like, "He's so sketchy."
like, I feel like I just,
Uh,
I sense something off about him because you never see him with facial hair. He's always super clean shaven.
yeah.
Tiny little mustache is enough to tell you, it's like, "This ain't your grandmother's Patrick Wilson."
Yeah, no, definitely. So he comes across as like, "Okay, what is he doing there?" And immediately she's like, "Who the fuck are you?" But then Cal can hear them talking. So he's like, "Who are you talking to?" And she's like, "Oh, the kid's dad." And he's looking for the kid too. So he's like, I know how to get to your brother." I forget what he says to her, but he's like, "I know the way to
I
go."
think he
And she follows him.
I think he says, "I know the way to go," and then she's like, "Well, then why haven't you have?" She's like, "'Cause I'm looking for my wife and kid, duh,"
Yeah.
which is, like, fair.
Yeah.
So at that point, I think she pretty much trusts him, right? And she follows him.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. So she's following him. And then at some point it cuts to a a scene back outside the grass. And it shows Ross and his wife, Angela, I think her name was. Ross and his wife Angela and Tobin, and they hear someone in the grass. And so it kind of shows how they started out before they ended up in the grass too. And there's a weird little overlap of, is it happening now or did that happen in the past? And you can't quite tell how long they've been there.
It's kind of confusing because we see the scene of how Tobin originally gets lost in the grass is because his dog Freddy runs into it and he chases after
Right.
him. But then we get another scene later where he's outside of the grass and he hears coming from inside the grass a stranger calling his name and saying, Tobin, don't come in here. So
Right.
it doesn't take too long for us to realize that time is basically completely out of sync in this movie.
Right. Yeah. I was going to say the time is disjointed.
An interesting little aside that the director of this, Vincenzo Natali, made Cube,
Yep. I saw that.
which is kind of strange to me because if you think about it, this movie's a lot like Cube 2, Hypercube.
Where they can look into another room and see snippets of time that had happened in the past or happened in the future. And
Yeah.
yeah, I remember that.
And one guy is killing every version of is it himself or another character,
Right.
and he has all those watches, so it's like really this is like the homegrown organic version of Hypercube.
Yeah. Yeah. So immediately when I realized, oh, Chrome, there's going to be time dilation things happening and things are happening at the same time versus this was the past, but it's also happening now. And that's also confirmed when Travis shows up. So Travis, we learn, is the father of Becky's baby, and the implication is that he didn't want to have a baby. He may have suggested that she terminate the pregnancy, but she decides to instead take the baby for adoption. But then he give the baby up for adoption. He shows up looking for them and goes into the grass because I think he hears somebody again. He hears Tobin maybe, goes into the grass and he finds Tobin, and Tobin is dirty and he looks like he's been running around in that grass for weeks, right? He doesn't look
Yeah.
like the clean kid that initially ran in after his dog. And so like something's been going on. But then he says, "Don't you remember me?" So that,
Yeah.
which is crazy because you're like, "Whoa, when would he have met him?" And obviously Travis is like, "I don't fucking know you." And he's like, "Oh God, you haven't met me yet. Okay. Remember, you're gonna meet me," or whatever. He says something like that. But it's interesting because it's hard to tell. Does the kid realize that there's some time issues going on, or is he just as confused as everyone else? Because the kid seems to be confused by the fact that Travis doesn't remember him.
But there's another
But
option, which is he's really giving creepy kid vibes off since he's all dirty. And the other
yes.
possible option is that he knows a lot and is intentionally fucking with Travis, which was my initial read, was like, I don't trust this version of Tobin,
Yeah.
which there might be something to that.
I also think that little child actor has kind of a creepy look about him, which they may have intentionally chosen someone that had a
Yeah.
specific look to maybe seem a little more knowledgeable than a kid who is totally innocent maybe would seem. I don't know.
I'm also just not sure how Travis found them. Like, I get that he saw their car in the parking lot, but how did he even get to this weird ass dirt road? Is he just been like driving around for months looking for any sign of
So
them and then eventually noticed it?
so my assumption is because they came from a little Midwestern town and they are now stopped in a little Midwestern town, that they have been caught in one of those places where there's one road and there's no other place to go but one road for like 6 hours. That's my assumption. That
Okay.
now Travis has just followed their path because in a lot of those little Midwestern places, there's just one long road and you're on it for hours and hours with no turns.
Okay, well, I've never driven through the Midwest, so that didn't occur to me. I'm just like, this seems like it's in the middle of absolutely fucking nowhere. Like, how did
Yeah,
he end
yeah,
up
and there's
on the same road?
yeah. I mean, this is me speaking from a little bit of personal experience because, having lived in the desert, there's sometimes one road that just goes for hours and hours and you can't get off of it. That was just sort of what I assumed. And when they finally get to their stopping point, Travis gets there, and so here's the thing that I thought was crazy. They pull their car over on the side of the road, get out, and go into the grass. But when Travis shows up, their car has been moved over
Yeah.
to this little parking lot area where there are several other cars, and it's covered in dust. And so Travis goes into the grass after hearing someone calling and eventually meets up with Cal and Becky. The three of them do reunite, and he tells them, "Y'all have been gone for 2 months." And they're like, "It's been a day."
They're like, "How the hell did you get here so fast?" He's like, "I followed you." He's like, "You must have been on our ass the whole way. It's only been a couple hours or a day or something." And he's like, "No, it's been 2 months. I've been looking for
Yeah.
you."
So that was really good because it confirmed what had been suggested up to this point, is that there was an issue with time going on.
But also, why did that car move to the parking lot?
I don't
Like,
know.
if it was towed, it would have been towed to a tow yard.
Yeah. So the thing we haven't said yet is that on the opposite side of the street where they pulled over, across from this field of grass was like an old abandoned church. And I was convinced this entire time that someone in that church knew what was happening or was connected to it in some way or was responsible in some way, but that someone in the church had pulled their cars over, had basically let people get sacrificed to the field. And whenever the field took somebody or consumed them, the person in the church would come and take their cars away. That was what I thought. But that's not really what happened.
That's a very distinct possibility because I'm pretty sure the church was called like Black Rock Church or something.
Okay, what does that mean?
Well,
Oh,
as we're
oh,
about to
duh.
find
The
out, at the
rock.
center of this field is a giant rock, which is it just me or is it impossible not to think of the SpongeBob episode? Like it's the same rock.
It is
They
the
should
same
have
rock.
just got on top of it and
And
drove it.
driven it and ridden it home. Yeah, that's funny.
The pioneers would drive those babies for miles. Like, what are you guys even doing? Did you think of
I
that? Because
didn't,
I was
but
like,
now that you say
that's
it,
the fucking rock from SpongeBob, like 100%.
I didn't think of that. That's
So
very
we
funny.
find out about this rock because Tobin leads Cal to it and tells him to touch it, but he doesn't do it
Yeah.
because he hears Becky scream, and Tobin tells him it's too late. And I think we've also been told another time that either Becky's dead or Becky's going to die. So this
Right.
has been lingering
Right.
for a while, that Becky's basically either dead or going to be dead.
Right.
And that will come to fruition when she gets like jump scared by someone coming out of the cornfield, and then she screams and Cal hears it.
And then we get the phone calls start to happen. And that sort of confirms that this is a modern movie, even though it felt very 60s to me.
Yeah, I'm wondering when the short story takes place. Only the cell phone like indicates that it would be around this time.
Right. So immediately, because they have cell phones, they try to make calls and the calls don't go through. But then when they're all together, they get a call. And the call is from Becky. And so they listen to Becky basically say, "Don't let Cal kill Travis and don't make the same mistakes."
Yeah.
And no one knows what that means. It's very ominous. But okay, we've got a call from the future, seemingly telling us the path to take, but it doesn't tell us anything, right? So,
Yep.
yeah. So they tag along with the kid for a little bit longer, and eventually they figure out that the kid can see the church in the distance, and the church is where the road is. So they start following the kid sitting on Travis's shoulders, leading them towards the road.
Yeah.
And then they're interrupted by his dad.
So the dad is telling them to touch the rock. And then his wife, Natalie, comes out of the grass and says, "Don't trust anything he says." And then she notices Becky and she's like stuttering, like, she. And then she eventually spits out that she's dead.
Right.
We also were told earlier by Tobin that dead things don't move. So any body that gets dropped in this grass field stays where it is, and you can use them as markers essentially. And is it Travis that he brings to Becky's body?
Yes.
After that, they basically get into a fight. Travis attacks Ross, and Ross like beats the ever living shit out of him. And Becky's like trying to help him, but Cal's holding her back.
Right.
And it's like, damn, like Cal wants that guy dead, huh?
Yeah.
He could easily help Travis, but decides to let Ross. He dislocates his arm, and then he goes up to his wife, Natalie, and crushes her head between his hands. So apparently he has super strength after touching that rock.
Yeah. So eventually they get away from him and they make their
Yeah,
way.
after he explains that the rock showed him the truth.
Right.
And that's why they all need to touch it.
Yeah. But they get away from him and they make their way to not the church, another building, right?
Yeah.
When they escape Ross, they put Tobin back on Travis's shoulders and he's like, "Oh, I can't see the church anymore." But then he sees this other building and then he sees his dog Freddy run out of the field to that building. And so they follow the dog. And that's how they get to the building. And I don't know what kind of building it is, but they get in there and
Yeah, it looks like a warehouse or
yeah,
something.
and Ross follows them. So they head to the roof. And when they're on the roof, Travis sees the dog going in and out of the grass. And he sees like this portal or something.
Goes behind a thing of grass and then just disappears and doesn't come out the other side.
Yeah, but then he comes back. So he kind of is peering over to see what's going on, and Cal comes over and is like, "What do you see?" And as he's leaning, he slips, and Cal grabs him and then fucking lets him go. So we're at the
Yeah.
point where we're like, "Oh, that's how he kills him," and she was right.
So Travis falls to his death. And then what happens?
Ross gets in, and he's like, "Here's Johnny."
Oh, yeah. And we could basically just say that Ross is basically just Jack Torrance.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Ross gets in, and he's like, "Here's Johnny." Here's
Yeah.
Johnny. He comes in and he's just pursuing them relentlessly and aggressively, and they end up back in the grass.
Yeah. So he's chasing Cal and he catches up to him and he's like strangling him. And he reveals that this is not the first cow he strangled to death.
Right.
This is probably not the 20th cow he strangled to death because we keep zooming out and seeing more and more decomposed versions of
Dead
cow all
bodies.
in the same area. So we see the first ones are a little rotten, and then by the end, we see straight up skeletons of cow.
Right. And I actually really, really liked that because he says it and then it pans out and you're like, whoa, who are all these? What is all these skeletons? What are these dead bodies? And you realize, oh my God, it's iterations of him. And also, it confirms, oh, he's about to die right now. Like
Yeah.
there's no way around it because you know this is how it ends. And he says, like, I know how this ends. You're not the first one I've done this to. And then also kind of confirms the fact that Ross has just turned into a murderer over during his time in this field. And maybe he was a decent dude just looking for his family, but over the course of his experiences in this grass, he's had to I mean, maybe he hasn't had to, but he's been
Well, he
compelled
touched the
to and
rock is the big thing.
so I didn't get that. It gives him knowledge or it just makes him crazy. I couldn't tell.
I would say both. I think it's a bit like the old Lovecraftian madness of like you learn so much it drives you insane. And so he wants all of them to touch the rock so they can all gain his knowledge, but they won't, so he's just gonna kill them all.
Right. And there's no real reason for why he feels like he wants them to join in with him, except misery loves company, I suppose.
Well, I think he thinks it's like pure enlightenment. He thinks everyone needs to touch the rock and to feel and experience and learn the things the rock wants you to know.
Well, I get that, but he's not good. Like, why does he care if someone else is enlightened? I mean, really, he would be. It's more consistent for him to be like, it's my rock, no one else can touch it. But he's not like that. So I don't know.
No, I think this is that there's a brand of madness that you often see that's like this is the correct course of action and you guys won't see it until you touch the rock. And so I need you all to touch the rock so you can see that I'm right and this is just.
Okay. All right. I that feels familiar, so I believe that. Um, okay. So then we learn what Ross has been doing. We learn how everything has been um kind of unfolding over and over again in this grass. And then we learn that Travis isn't dead. So,
Yeah. At least one of them isn't.
yeah, one of the Travises isn't dead. And at some point Becky collapses and maybe starts going into labor. I can't tell if it's just like the stress of what's happening kind of finally gets to her, but she collapses in the field and it looks like she goes into labor.
Well, it's been 2 months, right? Is that 2 more months of her pregnancy, or are those rules out the door because they're in the grass?
Oh, I didn't even realize that could be a possibility. Yeah, yeah, she could have been pregnant for another 2 months, and now she had come close to term and was giving birth because of the stress and whatever. But yeah, that could be true. But also, she didn't realize that 2 months had gone by, so she clearly didn't
No.
suddenly progress in her pregnancy. But I don't know, maybe, like,
Yeah.
metaphysically, she did. Who knows? So, yeah, she collapsed and it's raining, and she's like, "Oh, no, it looks like she's going into labor." And then Cal appears and is kind of helping her. She gives
Wait, is that before or after those like grass monsters? Like people with grass for
Oh,
faces?
yeah, the grass monsters. Yeah, I couldn't watch this.
Yeah,
And
they were
that
strange. I like them though.
scene no, this was more of like a trypophobic type thing. It was the grass blades, the way the grass was moving as she was being carried, and then the way their grass faces were looking, it was just gross to me. So I sort of
I
blank
thought they looked cool.
Well, I just wanted to puke. It was lotus pods all over again. So I was like, "No, I can't look at this." So I kind of saw snippets of her being carried by these grass things, and then they lay her down, and when they lay her down,
Yeah.
she starts to give birth, and
Yeah.
then Cal shows up and he's comforting her, but then all of a
Yep.
sudden, someone's feeding her something, and this is where I was like, "I knew it, I knew it, I knew it. They were gonna do some
Yep.
gross pregnancy shit." So, yeah. They do. And Cal is giving her something to eat, and he's like, "It's the grass. It's good for you." And she is
Yeah.
clearly not eating grass. She's eating something that's bloody, and it's got nasty sounds accompanying it. I was very upset by this part of the movie because I had to listen to it and I had to see. It was a visual and stimulatory nightmare for me. Then she gives birth, and it's heavily implied that she's fed her fetus.
So what looked to be Cal turns out to be Ross, and Ross is basically feeding her baby.
Yeah, it was wild.
Around this time between like the carrying and this, I was getting mother vibes.
Yes, it definitely got like that. So Travis figures out that he has to sacrifice himself, touch the rock, figure out what to do, and in that temporary moment of sanity and knowledge, he's gonna make the decision to save everyone, or at least to save Becky. So he touches the rock, he gets the power to send Tobin back to the church on the
Yep.
day they show up. And he just tells Tobin, "Don't let them in." And that's it. That sets in motion the end of the film, right? So I really love loopy movies. They're not always that satisfying. This was unexpected. I think I didn't expect there to be they're going back to the beginning to prevent it from happening in the first place. I didn't expect that to happen, even though in hindsight, duh, that's clearly where this was leading. But I like
Yeah.
those stories. I think they're smart. I think it's interesting. Um, I think it's thought provoking, honestly. So I was happy. Like I said, at the beginning, I said I had a good experience with this overall, even though the sensory crap was annoying, but overall, I had a good time.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I really liked the beginning of this movie, the way it kinda, like, sets up the mystery, and then all the reveals were really well done.
Yeah.
They really put thought into how they would zoom out to show more of what was going on, and especially, like, the reveal of how much time had gone by, I thought I liked that scene a lot.
I'd be curious to read the book because
Oh, yeah.
I have a feeling there's more backstory to this field, and it would be cool to know exactly what the origins were. Like, I
Well, I think
remember
it's a
you and
short
I.
novella, I think this actually added a lot to the story.
Well, yeah, but I remember you and I watched The Boogeyman, went back to your
Yeah.
house, found the story that it was based on in your mom's books, read it, and it was 50 times better than the movie and gave a really good explanation that I think was missing in the movie. So I'm wondering if something
Yeah.
like that would be true for this. Not necessarily that it would be better than this movie, because I think the movie's good. But if it gave a little bit of just a little bit of the backstory to make it better. Like, for example, if we're talking about The Shining, still, The Shining, the book is phenomenal. It gives so much backstory that the movie doesn't give, even though the movie is fantastic. So just wondering if reading the book would give a little bit more context to stuff.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else?
No, I think that's about it.
Okay. Well, I am giving this a solid 3 stars.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna give it a 3 as well.
Okay. All right. So that concludes our week 2 October Spookfest. And what are we doing next week?
Alright, up next week, we got Slumber Party Massacre from 1982, Villains from 2019, and Speak No Evil from 2024.
Okay. Very good. All right. We will spook you later. Until next time.
Until next time.
This podcast is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share Alike 4.0 International License. For additional information and other media content, visit theferalthread.com. Thanks for listening. Until next week.